So the first activity that we're going to go through is we're going to start to resign from the current role and take back the ownership of your inner castle, your inner kingdom, inner queendom. So on the screen here, you'll see 3 circles. Now, the 2 outer circles, these are concerning your magical big people in your life. So the significant adults, the adults that influenced you the most, okay, who had the greatest significance on you. So it will be different for each person. Maybe it's parents, maybe it's grandparents, maybe it's caregivers or older siblings. Okay, who influenced you the most? That's what I want you to have a think about. It's usually 2, and if there was only 1, then it's only 1. Whatever's right for you. There's no right or wrong. I just really ask that you associate into this work and into these feelings that come up for you. And I want you to go ahead and answer the following questions for both magical big people that come to mind. Think about, who did you need to be in order to receive their love? All of the things that were accepted. And what we're doing here is we're having a look at how your crust is made up at the moment. What did you love about them? What are the things you admired about them when you watched or when you listened? Because it was like monkey see, monkey do. If you saw that they were enjoying something, you would tend to do that same thing as well. What did they love about you also? What did they praise you for? What did you get a pat on the shoulder for? What did you get a kiss on the forehead for? Yeah, what did you get a thumbs up for? All of that stuff makes up the crust version that is now being presented to the world. And so I want you to do that for both people. And just have a look at all the stuff that was accepted, because this is now a part of your crust. Now, I want you, once you've filled out both sides of those circles, is to associate into the feeling of all those things you have listed there, all the things you had to do, all the things that you had to say. And I want you to give it a name. I want you to name what that being would be called if it had a name, right? And the name is whatever comes up for you. I've had some clients call theirs Hearty, right? Like, they always had to, defend and, be strong. Okay. So what's another one I've had? Like the Joker, right? Always had to fit in and be funny, right? And not take things too seriously. So that was another client. Whatever the name is for you is what it is. I just want you to go ahead and look at everything that you had to be, everything that you had to say, and give it a name, okay? And this is the role that you've been playing as a part of your crust. Now, once you've done that, I want you to have a look at these inner parts of you that potentially haven't seen the light of day, but they absolutely do matter. And I want you to list down all of these things that were not okay about you, the parts that weren't accepted and that were potentially rejected. And look, these things they were either said directly out loud that they weren't okay, or maybe they were implied energetically. Again, there is no right or wrong. It's whatever it felt like it was for you at the time. And I want you to list these parts down that were suppressed. Okay, so to give you an example, maybe there was a part of you when you were younger that, tried to communicate a need and it wasn't allowed, or it was shut down, or maybe you were told to be quiet or something like that. Whatever you can remember, the parts that weren't okay or felt like they weren't okay or literally weren't okay to do, write them down. And these are the things that have been missing from your experience because they've been underneath the crust. They haven't been expressed or shown to the world. Now, what I want you to think about once you have the list written out is I want you to have a look at everything that's in your crust and everything that's in this middle part as well. And I want you to associate into the feeling of what it would be like if these missing parts of you that haven't seen the light of day for some time now, what life would be like, what that would feel like if you were living with these parts as well, with these parts of you that have been missing, what would that be like? And I want you to go ahead, associate into the feeling, create a name for it, for what that would feel like if you had these missing parts in your life experience now. You were able to do these things. You were able to say these things. You were able to be all of this now. What would that being feel like, and what would you name it? And I want you to go ahead, name it and claim it, right? Because these are the parts that potentially have been, not available to you because they weren't available in the role that was in the crust. But thinking about if you brought these in, and how are these going to help you achieve your goals now? How are these going to help you build your business now? And I want you to think about that. Go ahead, name it and claim it. And so go ahead and do that after the session. Take your time with it. I don't want you to rush this. I want you to, have a think about, the list, and take your time. So once you've felt like you've completed that, right, and it's full and it's complete, then we can move on to the next part, which is to do some self-reflection, which is, now that we've named what we've been doing in our crust version of ourselves, we want to ask ourselves a couple of questions here, like, what will happen if I stay this way? Like, how will it affect your external world, everything in your external world, which is your relationships, your career, business, health, wealth, family? What happens if I continue living from this crust version for another 12 weeks, for another 6 months, or even 2 years? What's that going to be like? What's that going to feel like? What are the effects of it? And how will I feel if this is my reality and I keep living from this crust version? What is that going to be like for me? So I want you to go ahead, again, associate into each question. Take the time to answer these. Do not rush them. Really feel into them, okay? And then after that, we're going to have a look at, okay, now with the missing parts that have been missing, right? Considering what life is going to be like when those are around and integrated into your world, and also what it's going to be like when you resign from just doing the crust stuff. When you resign from the role, what will it be like? What evidence are you going to see to know that you've resigned from just doing the crust version of yourself? What will you be able to achieve differently with the parts that have been missing that you're now using in your life? How will that affect your external world, your relationships, career, business, etc.? And what would spending the next 12 weeks, 6 months, or even 2 years be like living this way with the pieces that you're now, using and expressing in your life? And ultimately, why do you want this? What is your highest purpose of living this way? So I want you to go ahead and associate into those questions and note those down too in your own time, and most importantly, to take your time. And the last question here is, what do you now need to let go of in order to create this change? So you can see the crust, you can see the parts that are missing. What do you need to let go of in order to create the change that you feel is going to move you towards building your business, achieving your goals, and creating the life that you're wanting to live on the outside? So feel into that and list down all the things that you may need to let go of in order to, to create the changes you want. Now, that's the self-reflection part, right? Which is very powerful, and I really do urge you to take your time. The next part we're going to look at is doing some self-reflection ceremonies. So we're actually going to do a little bit more than just writing it down, right? And just writing out what this is about. We've done the understanding part, so we're understanding what the crust has been like and what's been missing. Now we're going to start to do some ceremonies that are going to begin the resignation of some of these roles. And this is where we begin to massage the subconscious, right? So I want you to, once you've named the crust part of your being, the being that has been in place for all these years, I want you to write a resignation letter. So starting with, I resign from the role of whatever you have named your role, right? The role that's been playing out in the crust version of you. I resign from the role of blah, right? And be as ceremonial as you need to. Send it to yourself in the mail if you need to. Place your letter in an envelope and just and lick it, and then, you know, let it dry for half an hour, come back, open it, and read it from the eyes of your new version of self. Okay, do what you need to do. Maybe just writing it is enough for you. Whatever it is perfect for you. So that's the ceremony number one. Ceremony number two is to go ahead and take 2 sheets of paper. On one, call it right up the top, your name, and then 1.0. So this is, you know, the version of you that you have been, and write down everything that you have been. So in more detail, okay, who you have been, who you've had to be. Now on the second piece of paper, call it and write at the top your name 2.0, okay, and then write down who you're now becoming as a result of integrating back in these pieces that have, you know, been underneath the crust, haven't been exposed, haven't been shown. Who are you now becoming as a result of having these resources that have been misplaced for so long? So that's ceremony number two. And then once you have written down those versions, I want you to then write down a thank you note to the old version of you for getting you here. Thanking them, loving them, and just showing appreciation, because here's the thing with roles is that they were put in place. There was a crust version of you that was put in place to protect you, right? Because if it wasn't there, then you would have just done all the stuff that wasn't accepted over and over and over and over again, right? And that could have got you in trouble, or that on a deeper level, right, felt like you were going against what the tribe is saying they wanted. And if you're always going against, then there was a fear that you could be cut off or not taken care of by the tribe. So I really want you to hear that it is so important that these roles were in place, because if they weren't, it may have meant that you felt like you couldn't survive. So I want you to write down that thank you note to the old version of you for the role, right, that you've been playing for getting you here, because their main job and the only reason why the role existed was because it loved you and it wanted to protect you. And what we're going to do here is we want to love them and thank that role for doing all they have done. And now it's time to let them go. You're acknowledging that they have served you until now, that this role, this version of you has served you up until now. But now with the goals and the dreams that you have, right, and the person who you need to become, it's now time for you to own your kingdom, your queendom, right? It's now time for you to go ahead and start driving on the driver's seat of your bus, of your Ferrari, of your Lamborghini, right? Or in my case, you know, a Dodge. It's now time to be in the driver's seat. And for that reason, it's time to have them sit in the passenger seat. So these are the ceremonies that I'll get you to complete, to really associate into and take the time to do. Once you have completed all of these, right? Once you've completed all of these, then the next step is to jump into the calendar and to select a time to do the integration, the one-on-one integration work with me. And this is going to be a session where we go ahead and we, based off of the work that you have done here from this pre-learning, it's so important that you do it. We go ahead and we integrate the new version of you, right? We explore further the roles that you have been playing. It's going to be so much fun. I'm looking forward to it. I won't spoil it too much for you. All you want to do right now is take care of going through the self-reflection exercises and the self-ceremony exercises. And once you're ready to book in, whether it be a week, whether it be a week and a half, it does not matter. Take the time to associate into it. There's no, whatever's right for you. If you need, check in with me, send me a text message. If you're feeling stuck or you just need to, language something out in a text message, go ahead and do that. And then when you're ready, let's book in for our one-on-one integration session. So remember, guys, that there is no right or wrong in doing these exercises. There's not one shoe that fits all. Everybody's life experience has been completely different. Okay, there's no two people that have, you know, experienced the same things, and so whatever's coming up and being jotted down on your piece of paper is absolutely what it's supposed to be. And on a final note is just to remember to bring compassion and love towards all of this work that you're doing, and whilst you're exploring. And if there's anything that you need a hand with, or you need to talk about, to keep you on track, I'm only a message away. So with that, guys, I will leave it there, and I look forward to seeing you on our one-on-one integration session. Thank you. Chat soon.